Hi everyone, welcome back to my channel. Today I'll be talking about JavaScript loop. Yeah, loop is one of the most important aspects of every programming language. Loop talks about a block of code that runs as so long as a particular condition is true. A block of code that runs as long as a particular condition is true. Okay, now if you look at here, I'm using VS Code and I have Node.js installed. So if you want to have the same experience I have, you can install Node.js, go to the Node.js official documentation and download the long-term support and install it on your machine. And then with VS Code, you can use any text editor of your choice, but my favorite is VS Code. Okay, I just created a folder called loop and there is nothing in here, so I'm creating a file app.js inside. Okay, I want to make a small comment and then yeah, okay, just like I said, a loop is a block of code that runs as long as a condition is true. When that condition becomes false, loop breaks out. If you watch my previous tutorials, I made a tutorial on operators and also on conditional statement. You will really understand more on how this works. Okay, now I said that loop is a block of code that runs so long as a certain condition remains true. Okay, and then in the course of our journey on loop, we're going to be looking at different loop types. So I can say loop types. Okay, so the first one we shall be looking at is the for loop. Then after for loop, we'll look at while loop. Then after while loop, we'll look at do while loop. Then after do while loop, we'll look at then other okay, we have for of loop. That's the fourth one for of loop. Then the fifth one, we have the for in loop, that is for looping through objects in JavaScript. Then other ones comes like a collection. I can bring them together. We have map, okay, for each is a method, or they are also used to loop through a collection. We have for each, we have map, was introduced in year 6. We have find, we have find index. All these are important. Find index, we have filter. There are other ones, well, talking about the ones you need if you are doing something like Node.js or React JS. You will needing some of those. They'll keep coming up. Okay, so as a way of syntax, let's see how let's see some of the syntax we can be seen here, especially for loop. In for loop, the syntax we are going to be seeing is we have initialization, then you use a semicolon, you have a condition. Remember we say as long as a condition is true, put a semicolon. Then we have increment or decrement. We also consider both cases, both increment and decrement case. Then we have the loop body. Okay, you can say do something at this point. Okay, now let's take a very basic example to see how loop works here, before loop. So I'll do this and say for loop. Okay, let's say we have an array of fruits real quick. Can use any fruit of choice. We have apple, we have banana, we have cherry, we have let's say orange. Okay, now looping through these, we are using the for loop. We'll say for initialization, which is the first parameter here, is asking you where do you want to start looping from. Yeah, we want to start looping from here, but before we do that, I want us to understand some basic things. Let me comment this first. Now, ordinarily this is an array. Yeah, this is an array of array object in JavaScript. How do we access these members of the array? That's the first question. And now, of course, you can say something like console.log. You mention the name of the fruit, right? Then you go by the index, because each member or each element of the array is identified by the index. The first element of an array has an index of 0. It's not just a JavaScript thing, it cut across every programming language. So because it has an index of 0, this has index of 1, 2 and 3. It's not our regular way of counting numbers 1, 2, 3, 4. No, this will give you the length. If you want to get the index, you start from 0. So now I want to get apple. I put 0 here. By the time I come to the console, of course, I'll say node, and I mention the name of the module, which is app. I'm getting apple, right? If I want to get banana, I will do this. This is giving me banana. The second one, if I want to get cherry, I'll change this to 2, like that until all of them. Yeah, but the question is, what if we have 5,000 fruits? Are we going to sit down and be putting index from 0 to 5,000? Oh, so that's what loop does for us. Loop try to ask you, where are you starting from? That's the initialization. And where are you going? Where will you stop? Okay, so the condition now is what determines where we will stop. As long as this condition is true, it will keep bringing out all of them one after the other. And then because we started from the beginning, which is 0 index, we are incrementing because we have to be going up. Assuming we started from the last index, for us to get to apple, we'll start decrementing. That's why I said increment or decrement at this level. Okay, but now we are going to be having we're going to be starting from the very beginning index, but we'll give the index is going to be a variable. It can be any variable name, feel free. But the only thing is that as a convention, you might be saying like let I, let J, but nothing stops you from saying let demo, let someone. You can put your name, yeah, and it works. Okay, so but let's use I. Can still change it to something else, be equal to 0. Now we are saying we are trying to capture apple. That's why we are saying let it be 0. So we've done the initialization part of this. So I put a semicolon just like we have here. The next one is a condition. Now we want to be looping this. Okay, but again, let's get the length of this. Now let's get the length of the fruit array. So to do that, we'll say fruit dot length, and then again be careful, the length is not asking you the index, is the natural way of counting numbers. 1, 2, 3, 4. How many do we have there? We have 4 there. Okay, yeah. So now we are going to be making use of the length. That's why I brought it out. So because if the length is 4, and if I'm counting from 0, I'm going to have 0, 1, 2, 3. Notice the difference? So that means length is always one number ahead of the last index. The last index is 3 and the length is 4. Okay, and then I'm going to make a condition. The index which is equal to 0 that we are using, we are going to be making sure that at every point of the loop is usually less than the length of this array. Yes, if the length is 4, the index is 3, is always is less than that, because when length is equal to the index, it means the condition is no longer true. It will break out. Okay, and because we are increasing, going up, so I'm going to be increasing the length, the counter. You can use this, or for those who understand assignment operator, which I did in my last video, you can do something like this and that works. But whatsoever that you are comfortable using, please do that. Okay, and at this point I'll say console.log, and let's get a trick now. When we were accessing this on individual basis, we put a square bracket in front of the name of the array. So we're going to do that right now, and then we are putting 0, 1, like all the index from the beginning, but this time around the loop is going to do that for us. We have a name for the index, a variable name for index, so that's what we're going to put here, which is I. So what it does is, at the beginning it uses 0 to put here, and it will capture apple. Okay, sorry, permit me to comment this so I will know when our loop is working. Okay, so I run this here and we have apple, banana, cherry and orange. Okay, now let's take this again. When it is 0, 0 comes here and it will capture this guy, apple, and then we'll now check this condition. Is 0 less than the length? Is it less than the length? Yes. Yeah, of course the condition came first before this printing, because it says 0 less than 4. Yes, it came down, it put 0 here and printed this. It came here again and incremented 0. 0 plus 1 becomes 1. It will now ask, is 1 less than 4? If yes, put 1 here. It will capture banana. It will increase it again. But one might be wondering, is that what was going on? But we just got our answer. Let me show you something real quick. Here is our browser. You go to your inspect, that's the developer's console. Yeah, so we'll come to here, which is console, where we can run. Remember, we are doing console.log. Yeah, we come to the console on the browser. So I want to do something. Please permit me to do this. You will like it. I want to explain to you real quick what's happening. I have permit me to copy the array. Yeah, instead of typing, let's just copy, and then yeah, that's the fruit array. Now let's do a for loop. For let I to be equal to 0, I is less than fruit dot length, then again I plus plus. Okay, so we open up the body. So instead of using console dot, we're already at the console, so let me use alert. Alert will help me explain this more. So I do fruit, yeah, capture the fruit, which is this, and then index again, which is I. We'll close it up and then close the parentheses for the alert, then the square bracket. Now when I hit enter, watch what happens. It's not going to pour the answers at once. You see apple, which is the first member, because it has already checked if 0 is less than the length, and it is true, so it's putting 0 here. That's why the loop is going to be looping everything for us. We don't need to sit down, assuming we have 5,000 elements in an array. We don't need to sit down and start putting them. That will weary us. So by the time I click OK, it will now check another condition and print this. So what it did the first time is putting 0, checking the condition is 0 less than 4, in conditional statement, it returns either true or false. So if it is true, the next line of code works. So it's true that 0 is less than this, so putting 0 here to get apple. By the time it comes to this plus plus, it add 1 to 0. 0 plus 1 is 1. It will now ask, is 1 less than 4? And it's here, it's true. So it will put 1 here and get banana. It will now come here and say 1 plus 1. Remember, I keeps changing. If I click here, it will bring cherry, because it would have 1 plus 1 is 2. 2 is still less than 4. So it will put 2 here and bring cherry. If I do again, it has gone to 3, because 2 plus 1 at this point is 3, and 3 is less than 4. So it will put 3 here. By the time I click again, because it has come and said 3 plus 1, which is 4, is 4 less than 4? False. So it breaks out. So this is what was happening in loop. So you notice initialization is the first part, condition here, increment or decrement is taking place here, and then the loop body. That's simple. So, and then another thing I want to talk about, loop is not just array. We don't just apply loop in array. We can loop through a string. Okay, looping through a string from the back. Yeah, so you can say const name, let's say name Nigeria. Okay, let me use country. Say Nigeria. Yeah. So country is Nigeria, and I want to loop through Nigeria, and I want to start from, mind you, is index 0. What I'm saying is correct. So let's test that out. Country, we put 0 here, is getting N. Yeah. So if you put 1, you're getting I. So is array. It sees a string as array, is a collection. So I'm trying to, let me comment that. So real quick, we want to start looping from the last index, which is I. And remember, I mentioned it, that the length of an array is usually one number ahead of the last index. Remember, in the fruit, the length is 4 and the last index is 3. So likewise, these characters, Nigeria. So for now, we say for let I, but I'm not starting from 0, because we don't want to loop from the beginning, we want to loop from the back. If I say 0, it means I'm capturing N, but I want to capture this last letter. So let it be equal to country.length. Country.length is going to give us all the length, but when I say -1, it will capture this A guy here. Okay, so then of course I could do this outside and save it in a variable name and use it here, so that it will not always calculate this at every loop, please. Okay, then at this point, the I should always be greater than or equal to 0. Because when we go from here and start coming down, this is 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Start from 6 coming down to 0. We have to make sure we stop at 0. That's why we say that I should always be greater or equal to 0. So when it is not greater or equal to 0, if it is less than 0, it will break out. Okay, so here I is going to be minus. That's the decrement I mentioned over there. So I say console.log, then of course country, your guess is right, and I here. Okay, so by the time we loop through this, blah 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 blah, starting from AIREGIN. Okay, but let's do something again. Let's say let container to be equal to empty string. So instead of sending to console, what I'm going to do is I'll say container plus equal to country country with the index. So what I'm doing now, I have a container. So when the first element comes, which is A, it will go into the container. When the second one comes, it will go. So it will reverse it. Instead of going straight, it will just be like this. So at this point, we'll call say console.log of a container, because that's where we are saving that. Okay, yeah, origin Nigeria, the reverse way of Nigeria. So we save in a container. So that's how loop works. So every other loops is just built upon that same principle. We have initialization, we have condition, and then blah 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 blah. So okay, that brings us to while loop. Okay, so the while loop is a bit different from that. You can say let j to be equal to 0. We'll still use the fruits array. So j is equal to 0. We're starting from the first fruit. We now say condition while true that j is less than the fruit dot length while true. So we'll say console.log. Okay, console.log mention fruit, put j, remember. So and then this is initialization, and then here the while part of it is the condition, and then here is the loop body, and then something is remaining. We've not done condition, so it's j++. So you can say increment, sorry, not condition, increment. Okay, so with that I think we're good. So sorry, let me make some demarcations to that. Okay, so can have this. So apple, banana, cherry, and orange. So you can do the reverse, the same condition we use here. At the initialization, you are doing fruit dot length -1 to be your initialization. Then the condition, you do that j is greater or equal to 0, and here you do j minus. So that will give you the reverse of the fruit array. So that's that for the while loop. Then we're going to do while loop. So the do while loop, still the same thing, the same procedure, but different arrangement. But the only difference is that in do while loop, you would have done the loop first before you would have returned the body before the condition. That's the difference between the while and the do while loop. So here I say let k. Okay, let me loop from the back the fruit array, and permit me to do this. So you do the front. I'm giving you that as an assignment. Please make sure you do that if you're watching this video. Don't say no. You have to do it. Please do it. And then let me see your answer, your response, whether you got it on the comment section. If there is any issue, please let me know. Make sure you do it. I'm counting on you. You're going to do it. Okay, so now because we want to loop the fruit from the back, remember we mentioned the fruit dot length -1 gives you access to the last index. So we'll say do, okay, we are doing the body now, console.log that's fruit, and the index, we're using k as our index. So then we do the decrement k minus, and then here we say while this condition is true, and and the condition has to be that k is greater or equal to 0. So at this point, let's check our terminal. Start from orange, cherry, banana, apple. So you do the front, the increment part of it. That's second assignment. You know, this is the first assignment, this is the second assignment. Please make sure you do that. I'm counting on you. Do it, okay? Thank you. Okay, so that's that for that. The next one, sorry, okay, the next one we have here is the for off loop. Yeah, for off loop. Now the for off loop is a bit different because it doesn't give us the latitude to choose our index and the rest of them for off loop. But it's good you understand how that works. Let's say we're looping through const numbers, and the numbers are these. Okay, so here let's do for let num. Okay, let n of num, and then let's say console.log of n. Now let's get the gist here. N is not index. N is being assigned the element at every iteration. So at the first iteration, n is equal to 1, second one n is 2, third one n is 3, and all that. So it's not indexed this time. So as I'm looping now, it's holding each element of the number array. So it started from 1, ended at 6. Yeah, so that's how this works. It's used to loop through arrays. Then the last but not the least, the other ones are part of I will talk about this time I do video on array as a topic. That should be the next video. If it is not function, definitely to be on arrays. Then I'll talk about this. It will really help you to understand it more, because if I talk about this, it takes only people who are already familiar with arrays to grasp this. So I wouldn't want you to miss it out. Okay, so the next one is for in loop. So this is used to loop object, JavaScript object. Okay, so let's say we have an object, say const person, and then of course object uses curly brace, and they have a name, key value pair, and the name is John Doe, and then John Doe has an age, and let's say he's still a young guy of 20, and email, let's say he's John Doe at gmail.com. Yeah, okay. Now of course, if we send the entire thing to console, we're getting this. Of course, sorry, we'll do object as a whole ball game. Also, we'll do that as a topic on its own. So say for let I, can use anything. I can use demo. Let I in person. Okay, so but this time around, carefully, I holds the keys, not the value. You know, it's key value pairs. So if I say console.log of I, it's gonna return that name, age, email. But that doesn't make sense. Okay, so let me do this. Let me comment 1. I want to return, if I want to return the value, I'll say person, and then I here is giving me just the value alone, John Doe 20, but I want 2 of them together. I want them to come together. Okay, so permit me to use backticks. Backticks is where you have your tilde character beside exclamation mark number 1. Yeah, backticks. Okay, so I want a situation whereby I have the key, which is I, and then give a space, white space, and I have the value here. So in that case, we have this name John Doe, age dim dum 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 dum. So you can put any delimiter here, it works. I want to put an arrow, it also works. So it's up to you what delimiter do you want to use. Okay, thank you everyone.